Hey, welcome guys. It's Caking All the Way with Lolade Okujimi, and I am so happy to be back. So, the cakes are ready. As you can see, I don't need to level them. They're quite nicely flat on the top. So I'm going to be showing you the star of the show, guys. Yes, we're using the Oreo cookies, okay, as the main ingredient, or one of the main ingredients. But this cake is about building different flavors so that as you're cutting through this cake, you're going to literally be like, OMG. And so to achieve this, guys, I'll be using 3 different frostings and fillings. So I will first of all be using the vanilla pudding frosting from Dainty Affairs. Okay, this frosting is not too heavy, it's not too light as well. It's a beautiful creamy balance, and so it's like silk, very smooth in the mouth. And of course, we've used vanilla extract, so it's very rich as well. And we'll be using a simple chocolate buttercream. All right, so the recipe for this flavor and how we created this is on the link below, so just go ahead, when you have the time, you can just look at how we created this beautiful, gorgeous, yummy, like literally yummy frosting. And we'll be using this on one of the layers of the cake. And then to cover up the entire cake, we'll be using whipped cream. Okay, now, how did we do this? We just used whipping cream, guys. Make sure your whipping cream is cold. Pour that into your mixing bowl, and then just use your whisk, your balloon whisk, to whisk it up until it goes from literally liquid to stiff. Not too stiff, okay? Because once it's too stiff, it looks quite harsh and it doesn't taste as nice, in my opinion. So quickly now, guys, we're going to start putting our cakes together, or if you want to use the right term, it's called assembling our cakes together. And this is my Lazy Susan. Okay, you don't have to use this. You can also use your regular turntable. Just anything that can conveniently move your cake board, okay, while you're working on the cake. I find it's very convenient. And onto that, I'll be placing my cake board. All right. And what board am I using? The cake is an 8-inch cake. So I'm using a 10 inches board. So to just stick this onto my cake, all right, I'll be putting in the vanilla pudding, all right. And as I mentioned, it's very light, very creamy, and extremely tasty. Not too sweet, okay, that's also very important, that your frostings are not too sweet, so there's a nice balance between the frosting and the cake. So I'm just putting just a tad bit of frosting onto my cake board, and what that does is to adhere. It's like a glue, okay? So the glue that sticks the cake to the board. Now that the first layer is on the cake board, I'm just going to take a vanilla pudding frosting, all right, and just for portioning sake, I would use an ice cream scoop. Just to put about 2 dollops onto the cake. And that's about what I think I need for now, all right. Let me just put this right here. So the aim is to create a layer, and onto that layer I will break in like bits of Oreo cookies. All right, already I can tell that I need just a little more frosting. And if you're like me, that loves frosting in between my layers, go ahead and just dunk about 4 dollops of the spoon. Okay, so that's a generous layer of frosting, of vanilla pudding frosting. And I'm trying not to come out of the circumference of the cake, okay? I'm staying within that surface area that I have. And for the most part, it's level, all right? Now, onto this, guys, I'm just going to take some Oreo cookies. And I'm just going to break them, like, just literally break. There's no right or wrong way. I just want to make sure that, you know, for each cut of slice of this cake, you get the crunchiness, all right, from the cookies. And that for me just adds a whole new dimension onto your cake, because you're going from a very soft, succulent cake, and all of a sudden your mouth just bites on the crunchy cookies. Now that's a beautiful experience right there. A beautiful cake experience. And then I'm just gonna, you know, just tap, okay, carefully onto I'm gonna just tap them. And so just before I place in the second layer of the chocolate cake onto my first set of cake and frosting, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a little dollop, just a tad bit, not as much, and I'll tell you what this does. So I'm just going to put a little bit of frosting just here and there on top of the cookies. And yes, you guessed right, this will add like the glue, okay, that will stick the cake onto the next layer, like so. So the cake is really soft, guys, really, really soft and succulent, like, all right. Now, if you feel your cake is breaking on you, you could stop, chill this for about 10 minutes in the fridge, okay? When you do that, your cakes will firm up and it will be easy for you to manage. But I mean, let's just go ahead. Okay, and I have a bit of cake just coming off. So I'm just gonna hook that back in. So for the next stage, guys, I'm gonna be putting the chocolate buttercream as the filling, okay, before I put in the very last layer. But before I do that, as you can see, this is quite soft. Okay, it's quite soft and not as firm as the silk cream that we have just used, or the vanilla pudding cream we have just used. So what do I have to do? What I need to do to prevent the frosting from oozing or from the cake from shifting during transportation or whatever is to create a dam. And you have to create a dam with a slightly stiffer consistency frosting. And you guessed as much, this will be doing the work, which is the whipping cream or the whipped cream that we made earlier. So I'm just going to take one of my piping bags, all right, and into this now I'm just going to scoop a bit into my bag. So this is a silicone piping bag. It's readily available online or in most cake accessory stores. All right, and this already comes with a hole right at the center or right at the tip, so I don't need to snip anything. And the dimension of this hole is just perfect. It's not too big and it's not too small. So what I want to do with this now is just look at what I'm about to do. I'm not staying on the edge of the cake and I'm not going way into the cake. I'm just taking like a little bit of space, and into this I'm just drawing a line, okay? Now, this is what you call a dam. So believe me, guys, into this dam, you can put literally about anything. You could put your jam, you could put your curd, anything that has a slightly runny consistency can go into that dam, because we have the strength of the dam to keep it all in place, if that makes sense. So right now, because I've created the dam already, I know everything I'm going to put in that center will stay right there. Okay, and feel free guys, if you would like to put some more cookie crumbs into this, by all means, but I want to kind of take it easy because I have a lot on the first layer. So the next thing I want to do now, the final thing with the cake assembly, is to place the very last cake layer. Now, unlike before when I was just, placing all the cakes head side up, I'm going to place this head side down. All right, and this is what I mean. So gently now, okay, turn this upside down. Okay, and literally I don't need this anymore. Place this gently onto your cake. Okay, so that you have the flat side up. That way, when you're smoothing or doing your last cover, you don't have to worry about the dome. All right, and already my cake looks very straight. Okay, and we have a very lovely assembled cake going on right here. And so the next thing to do right now is to do the first coat or the crumb coats, and after that we'll do the overall decoration. But because this cake is supposed to be like a no-brainer, easy to do at home, I haven't brought out any fancy tools. I'll be using the cake spatula, the offset spatula, to completely design this cake. And I hope you can flow along because it's very easy. Just before we get into putting this cake together, at this stage, if you feel your cake is too soft or it's shifting on you, you can place it as is into your fridge, 10 to 15 minutes, okay? That should do the work. And so right now, again, I'm just going to show you the whipped cream. I've just spent some time just mixing it by hand because it was a tad bit stiff. Okay, and what happens when you do that is you've just loosened it up and it just becomes very creamy. Into this, I'm going to add the crushed Oreo cookies, and we're just going to mix this all together. The deal is to make sure that your cookies have been properly crushed, right? Because if at the end of the day you want to put this in a piping bag and pipe over your cake, if you have like a very large chunk, it's not going to come out of your piping bag, so best to have that in mind. But for the most part, this is ready, and then we're just going to place this all over our cake. And to do that, I will be using an offset spatula and take this out of the way. And really what I want to do here is, I don't want this portion to look intimidating to you. So I'm going to first of all just put some dollops on the top of the cake. And because the cake is flat on the top, you can see I'm just going front, back, side to side, and then I'm taking my offset spatula, okay, holding it in place and just literally moving my turntable. Now with this motion, the cake is being coated, okay? So I always say the rule of thumb for using the offset spatula, it's already offset as you can see. Just place your hand, don't go down or up, all right? Just place your hand in one position. Look at the position of my arm to my body, okay? And just maintain this position. Make sure this portion of your offset spatula is sitting flat onto your cake. And with this, turn your table, okay? Or whatever you're doing right now is guaranteed to make your top surface very smooth and level, like so. All right, now that the top portion is done, it's now time to go to the side of the cake. All right, so again, what I find when people are trying to do this is they take their cream and they start putting it on the side of the cake. I would say no. When you apply your cream onto your cake, you want to make sure that you can see what you're doing. So what can I see? I can see the left side, okay? And because I can see the left side, I'm just concentrating on placing it on each side that I can see in little portions. So this is a portion I can handle now, okay? Once I'm done with that portion, I move it. And I will just continue with this flow. And there we are. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So what I want to do now is just to roughen it up, okay? So I'm just going in S motions. We want the cake to look professional yet homemade, okay? So we're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking for a nicely decorated cake. So as you can see, the top of my cake went from being almost smooth to a bit rough now, and that's completely okay. All right, so just think about your S. And then for the sides, you want to go like S motions too, all right? And I find this very therapeutic. So I like to bend down a bit so that I can just see whether my cake is lopsided or standing straight. And from what I see here, it's looking perfect. Okay, I think I need to put just a little bit here. And that's it, guys. This is almost done, but we need to jazz it up a little bit. So what I want to do here now is just tidy my cake board. Now, to get to the very final design bit of this cake, what I want to do now is take a piping bag with a star tip. Now, this is a star tip, okay? And I like the ones that have like a slightly wider mouth, not the thin ones. And I will be placing some cream into this. Okay, and this is purely for aesthetics, like the final garnish that you use just to add to the presentation of your cake. It doesn't do anything to the cake, but I find a cake that is nicely designed is very attractive, okay? And when it's attractive, everybody wants to have a piece of it, isn't it? So what I'm going to do now is do like a cross, not like a cross, but like think about your, so you put your angle here, one angle of a clock, all right? You put another angle here. So this is what? Your 12 o'clock, that's your 6 o'clock. Now let's go to your 3 o'clock, right? And then we go to your 9 o'clock, okay? But we don't do 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. We go to middle o'clock. So that sits here, and another one in the middle here, and another one in the middle here. It's a beautiful, nice dollop. And this way, I haven't really measured anything out, but using that principle, you get to kind of position your dollops proportionally onto the top of your cake. And then again, that adds the aesthetic, isn't it? And finally, how will people know that this is an Oreo cookie cake if you don't garnish the top with some Oreos? So you could easily put some crumbs, but I think that won't do justice. Okay, so what I want to do now is to just break one cookie into two and just kind of place it like so. All right, and again, we have to be coordinated. So where this is facing this way, this can face. Should we make it face this way? Yeah, maybe this can face this way. All right. Another one is facing downwards. All right. And the last one is facing upwards. And here we are, guys. So we're going to chill this for about 10 minutes, okay? Note that the chocolate cake tastes better by the next day. So if you're having guests around or you're doing this for a client, you want to make sure you've done this a day ahead, so that by the next day, all the flavors would have come together, the fillings would have firmed up inside the cake. And of course, during the carriage with this our Lagos traffic, all right, you don't have anything or anyone calling you that the cake has fallen, but we right here are going to cut this and enjoy this with the crew. And I'll show you what that looks like in a bit, because this has to go into the chiller to firm up just a tad bit. Yes. Now for the great reveal. I'm going to be cutting this cake into a slice, and then we will see what it looks like on the inside, and of course taste it. You know, what I love about this cake is the fact that you have the soft texture of the cake. We've built up layers with the type of the different fillings we've used. We've used vanilla pudding cream, we've used chocolate cream, the chocolate buttercream, and the whipped cream overall. And as you go through all these layers, you're kind of hitting different sensations in your mouth. You go from soft to crunchy to silky to smooth. This, guys, is the real deal. You can literally finish a whole slice without even feeling guilty. It is that rich. Okay, I will finish this up later. But guys, thank you so much for joining me as I created one of the most beautiful cake pairings I've ever made. Okay, and I hope you can do this to yourself, and when you do, make sure you hashtag Caking All the Way on all social media platforms. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining, and see you next time. Bye.